Hey guys, I hope you're enjoying Spain month. So today I wanted to prepare one of the most common dishes in Spain that I actually haven't been able to find here in the States. It's a Spanish tortilla. Now, this tortilla is absolutely nothing like the Mexican tortillas that you think of, which are either corn or flour and very, very thin. This is actually much closer to an omelet or a frittata. This is a recipe that you're gonna find in pretty much any restaurant or cafe in Spain. And when I came back and was going to tapas restaurants here, I was really surprised that it's not on the menu in most places. Now there are two different ways to make this. One of them is the traditional version, which is basically just eggs and potatoes. And the second way adds in a little bit of chorizo. It's a spicy Spanish sausage. I personally much prefer the chorizo, so I think it gives it a much better flavor. So that's the one that I'm going to be using today. I've started cutting up my potatoes here. I'm trying to keep my knife cuts nice and even. Clearly it's not working, but you know, I tried. And that's all that counts in this kind of cooking. So I'm gonna get the rest of these potatoes chopped up and then I'm gonna get my eggs out. Okay, so I've just finished cooking up my chorizo. Now chorizo is a really fatty sausage, so it's gonna have a lot of grease in the pan. You're also gonna be able to see little chunks of the fat in the pan. It's fine, you can just go ahead and eat it. When you get it, it actually comes in a casing like this. This is a plastic casing, and you pierce it with the top part of your knife, then cut the tip off, and then squeeze it out. Then throw this away. Do not eat this. It is definitely not edible. So once this fully cools off, I'm gonna start cooking up my potatoes in a little bit of olive oil, and then after that, I'm gonna go ahead and cook up my onions. So when I'm dropping the potatoes into the oil, it's kind of splashing up because the oil is really hot. So the way that I'm getting around that is I have this wooden plank. I'm laying the potatoes out flat and then I'm scooting them in really slowly. That way it doesn't drop and hit the oil and pop off. Also, it keeps me further away from the hot oil. Make sure that you keep your arms as far away from it as possible because the oil will pop. So now that my eggs have been cooking for a little while with the potatoes and the onions in there, I'm putting a little bit of cheese over it. The recipe actually calls for Manchego cheese. I'm using shredded mozzarella because it's a lot cheaper and it's easier to find. You don't really need a ton of it, just a little bit all around the sides. And then since I don't have a frittata pan, which is apparently covered, I just go ultra classy and I cover the whole thing with a baking sheet. And that really it serves about the same purpose, so then just leave it on there and let it cook until the eggs are done. So the next part is going to be the most challenging part of this entire dish. It's going to be flipping it. In normal frittata pans, there are two sides and they clamp together. Since I don't have one of these, I'm just going to use skillets. So let's hope this works. I really hope I don't ruin anything. And if I ruin the food, that's fine as long as the kitchen is intact. I've got this. I'm just going to turn this off so stuff doesn't go flying. Ready?
I wish you the best of luck.
Thanks. 1, 2. It's really hard because these don't match up perfectly. You know what? I think I can keep this over the sink. So if it spills, it'll be okay.
Less of a disaster.
Pans are really heavy.
Yay! Kinda.
Not so yay.
It looked like a yay at the beginning.
Part of it spilled out.
Whatever.
And the bottom is a little bit burned, so I clearly let that cook a little bit too long. Oh well. Alright, so for my first time flipping something and not having an actual frittata pan, I don't think it's too terrible. I mean, it's not great, and obviously I let the bottom cook a little bit too much because the top was still really liquidy. So I'm going to try to push down the sides and see if I can get it to form somewhat of a normal look. Probably not. There's kind of a wrinkle, and wrinkly potatoes are really never a good thing. Okay. So here's our final product. It's a little bit shorter than the ones that you typically get in restaurants, but that's just because my skillet is wider. If you want it to puff up a little bit more, just use a narrower skillet or a frittata pan. And that, you gotta say, that makes one good looking breakfast or dinner. So there you have it, the Spanish tortilla.